Have you ever noticed how, when things start going wrong, there's always this simple story that pops up about who's to blame? Well, today we're going to pull back the curtain on those stories. We're going to dig into the mechanics of how scapegoating and conspiracy narratives actually get built and why they're so dangerously effective.
It's a great question, right? When we're in a crisis, there's this deep, powerful human need for a simple explanation. It just feels better to have a single target for all our frustration. But what happens when that simple, very human urge gets manipulated? Let's find out.
So the very first ingredient in this whole recipe is a simple story of blame. All the complexity, all the nuance, it just gets tossed right out the window. And in its place, a clear, easy-to-understand villain.
And this has a name, of course, scapegoat politics. The idea is you take a huge, messy, complicated problem, like, say, the economy or social change, and you pin it all on one specific group. It turns this complex system of causes into a really straightforward story. They are the reason for our problems. It's simple, it's emotionally satisfying, but it is a massive oversimplification.
But here's the thing. Just having a villain isn't quite enough to really get people moving. See, a good story needs more than just a bad guy. It needs a plot. It needs a sense of action, of intent.
And that brings us to part 2, where we add some serious rocket fuel to that scapegoat idea. This is what we call the conspiracy formula, where the villain is given a secret, malicious plan.
So you end up with this really powerful two-part formula. Step 1 gives you the who, that's the scapegoat, and step 2 gives you the what, that's the secret plot. It's this combination that makes the whole story so incredibly compelling.
So what is a conspiracy narrative, exactly? Well, it's not just some rumor. It's a very specific kind of story. The basic claim is that powerful elites are secretly, deliberately carrying out some malicious plan against the common person. And just like that, you've created this dramatic us versus them battle.
So, to analyze this structure, our source material points to a modern example, the Great Replacement Theory. This is a narrative that suggests powerful elites are intentionally engineering a demographic shift, and, as outlets like Reuters have noted, elements of this logic can sometimes appear in political rhetoric, especially around immigration and the supposed intent of political opponents.
Okay, before we go any further, this is an absolutely critical point from our source. I'm actually going to read it directly. This is a scientific analysis of rhetoric. It is not a crude comparison of individuals or historical events. What we're doing here is examining a recurring pattern of language, a rhetorical tool. We are not, and I want to be super clear on this, we are not equating different people or moments in history. We're analyzing the logic of the tool itself.
And this tool has a long, dark history. Back in the 1930s, Nazi propaganda, as documented by the United States Holocaust Memorial Museum, relied heavily on the myth of a secret Jewish world conspiracy to justify horrific discrimination. The core logic, this idea that a secret group is working to destroy society from within, it's a recurring theme used to stoke fear. And again, the point isn't a direct comparison, but about recognizing a historical pattern in rhetoric.
So how is this story actually told? How is it made to sound believable? Let's open up the language toolkit. These are the specific linguistic tricks that make these narratives so darn effective.
The first tool is something called totalization. Now, in reality, any group of people is made up of diverse individuals, right? They have different beliefs, different actions. But this narrative, it just flattens them all. It claims that every single person in the targeted group is identical, that they all act as one, and that they're all part of the same unified, powerful force. It completely erases individuality.
The next tool is intentionalization. Look, the world is a complicated place. Things happen for a million different reasons, or sometimes for no reason at all. This tool just sweeps all that complexity away. Suddenly, nothing is an accident. Every single setback is reinterpreted as a deliberate step in the enemy's secret plan.
And here is maybe the most manipulative tool in the entire kit: moral inversion. This is where the narrative flips reality completely on its head. The group that's promoting the conspiracy claims that they are the real victims. And this is so key. It allows them to frame any aggressive actions they take not as attacks, but as necessary acts of self-defense against some kind of existential threat.
Okay, so let's just pause for a second. With this toolkit in mind, here are some critical questions to ask yourself anytime you hear these kinds of stories. First up, what here is a verifiable fact, and what is just an emotional claim that's designed to feel true?
Second, and this one is huge, who actually benefits when a population is scared? Who gains political power or maybe an economic advantage from promoting these specific fears and these enemy narratives?
And finally, really listen to the language being used. Is the discussion about individual human beings with rights and dignity, or has the language shifted to talk about abstract masses, floods, and invasions? That shift right there is a huge red flag.
Okay, so knowing how these narratives are built is the first step. It's a huge step. Now, let's talk about how we can build a defense against them.
All right, here's your defense toolkit. First, demand facts and context. Don't just rely on anecdotes. Look for real data. Second, develop what's called narrative competence. Honestly, that's what we're doing right now, just learning to recognize the story patterns. And third, we can all help foster a solidarity public by supporting institutions that push back against discrimination. And this right here is the core takeaway. It's not enough to play whack-a-mole, debunking one false claim at a time. The real goal is to understand the underlying machinery. Because once you see how the story machine works, you start to become immune to its products. So we'll leave you with this final, really powerful question to carry with you. Whenever you encounter a compelling, emotionally charged story, just ask yourself, who benefits if I believe this? Thanks for joining us.